Hi, everyone. This is Liz Rourke, your broker, and we are going to talk about Dotloop today. I'm going to give you a quick overview of how to get in and around Dotloop, and I'm going to close this webcam so we can look at the screen together. And so I'll be back in just a second. Hang in there with me. Okay. I am assuming that you know how to get here. This is your Keller Williams intranet home page, the KWRI, and we are going to talk about Dotloop today. So we're going to look at this Start My Transactions section right here. And you click on Start My Transactions, and this takes you to your loops page. These are where all your loops are going to be listed, and it also has a grid view that you can look at and have them this way if you like all the little bubbles. I kind of like just a list, so we're going to do it list, but you can just do this any way you want to. And there is a early access to the new and improved loops page. I haven't learned how to do this, so we're not going to do this, okay? And so we're going to go back to the page where we were before. So this is kind of interesting. I haven't really used it much, so we're going to go back to this old page. Oh, if I can. There we go. All right, so here we are back on my loops page. So I've done this class a couple of times, so I'm going to go in and to one of the ones I've already done, and this is the one I did earlier today, and didn't get it going very well. So I'm going to kind of archive these forms because I'm just going to. All right. Actually, I'm going to start over because I've done some playing around with loops here. A new opportunity. Oh, crud. All right. So here we are back at our Dotloop homepage, and we're going to create a loop right here. I've got a couple other loops that I've done with the same property, but we're just going to do another one because it just makes sense. All right, so we're going to create a loop, and we're going to name our loop our property address. Now, sometimes if you're working with a buyer, and let's just go ahead and do that. Okay, you're working with Richard Williamson, which happens to be my husband, and so you're creating a loop for Richard. He hasn't decided on a property yet, but you're getting it started. And so this is going to be a buying contract, right? So select a template. It's a buying contract. So we're going to create a loop for Richard because he's a buyer. Okay, so this is what it auto-populated a few things for you. The first is a checklist. And this is the checklist that I personally use when I'm doing compliance review with your contracts. So this is going to be a buyer rep sale. So this is the section that I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be looking for these red items at a minimum. And then the rest of them, if it's applicable, if you need a third-party financing addendum, if you do a buyer's rep agreement, if there is an HOA, if they are asking for non-realty items, you go ahead and put those forms in your loop as well. But at a minimum, I need these, but I need everything else that applies. Does that make sense? Okay. So if you use this list and provide all the paperwork that's necessary, then you are good to go. Now remember, over here, TREC requires us that we keep all the documents, client notes, CMA, tax records, and any other pertinent documents that pertain to that transaction. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So be sure and use your loops as your permanent file. Just think about that. So I'm also going to use information about brokerage services, and I'll show you where that is. We're going to select a person. We're going to add a person. Richard is our new buyer. And I'm going to add an email. And here's rickwill932. That's his email. And all of this kind of stuff. I populated because I've done business with him before, let's say. Okay, so I'm going to add that person. And The buying agent, that would be me, okay? And managing broker, that would be Keller Williams DFW Preferred, okay? And let's say buying broker is Keller Williams DFW Preferred. I'm not sure about that. And let's not do the managing broker. I'm not sure about that. So buying brokers, Keller Williams DFW Preferred, buying agent, and our buyer, right? Okay. We're going to autofill that. So it has filled in my information, okay, because you're in the system, right? And then it's left this box because when you send this to Richard for his e-signature, it's gonna pop him right to this location so he can select that, he can initial this document. Okay, we're going to save the changes. All right. So back, this is just an information page for him, or recommending that we do recommend him using an inspector. He can choose to or not to. You can include that along with it. Now, if you'll notice, this is a PDF file, and I put this in here intentionally as a PDF file because sometimes, like the seller's disclosure that the listing agent's going to send to us for our buyer to initial and sign, it's going to probably be in a PDF document. Okay, so we've just got this PDF file. You can't, there's nothing there. So what you can add, go up here, add, you can add a signature. So we're going to pop a signature right there. We're going to sign, who's going to sign this signature? It's going to be Richard, because that's our buyer, right? And so we're going to ask him, or do you intend to get a inspection? Add a checkbox, okay? Say, yes, I do choose to hire an inspector, okay? So you just dropped a little box down in there, point at it, and check it, okay? And then you're going to add a date because we need to know when this was dated. So you're going to add a date right here. So we're going to pop that down. It's going to give you a thing. He signed it today, and it auto-populates your date right there, okay? Easy peasy. Now you're going to save that. We're not going to share it yet, but you're going to save it. So, and you can also say to Richard Williamson from Keller Williams DFW Preferred regarding this particular property on this particular date. You just add a text box to Richard Williamson. Okay, and then add another text box, Keller Williams DFW Preferred. You get my drift on that, okay? Then regarding the property, you add another text box when he knows what property he's going to buy. And you just fill in that spot. And then the date, you can add the date right there. It's today, and you're done, okay? So we'll save that. That's giving him an explanation about how important it is that he get an inspection. Okay? And then protect your family from lead in your home. If the house that he's looking at was built before 1978, you need to give him this, and the listing agent will provide the addendum for lead-based paint that you and your client will sign. But you need to provide this to him, so this gives him information that he needs, and we're required to give it to him. Don't print it. It's about 40 pages or something, but you can email it to him. Okay? So we're going to need some more documents. So we've gotten, this is pre-filled for us, but we're going to add documents. Again, this is a sales contract that we're looking at. So we're going to go to, you can do TREC or TAR, either one. Let's do TREC. And here's the lead-based paint addendum, which the listing agent will use. So we're going to look at the 1 to 4. That's a 1 to 4 family residential contract. Resale. That's the same one. Okay, same thing. Okay, so we're going to use that. And then we need, what else do we need? We need the third-party financing addendum. That is, unfortunately, let's see. I think we have to copy it and go back into it. What else do we need? There's an HOA addendum. Let's see. It's called a property uh, mandatory. That's the word. So just kind of put a keyword in, and then it'll pop. Well, sometimes it pops up, so it is an addendum. Actually, that's a TAR form. That's why it's not in there. So I keep misspelling things. So here's addendum for property subject to property owners association. So you can select that. What else do we need? Third party, third party, subject, man, that's all for now. Okay, that's enough for now. Okay, so we're going to look at it in this order so you can kind of rearrange things there. Okay. So, and what you can do is open all, and that way all of the forms will open and you can just kind of scroll through them. So, let's go ahead and use this. Okay, it wants some information. So it already knows that Richard is the buyer. The buying agent's Liz Rourke. The buying broker is Keller Williams DFW Preferred. If you know who the escrow agent is, if you know who the listing broker or listing agent is, you can go ahead and fill those in as well. Okay, let's choose somebody. Let's add a person. The listing agent is, say, Debbie Gill. Okay, and her email address is right there, debbiegill@kw.com. Okay, that's the listing agent. We can add that person. All right, so she's listing agent. She's filled in. Let's go down here a little bit more. Okay, the address that they decided that they want to put an offer on is 1701 Morning Mist Trail in Flower Mound. Here's the, let's see, street number. Okay, let's do it manually. 1701. No unit. Flower Mound. State is Texas. 75028 is correct. County, what's the county? Denton. Okay. Purchase price, we don't have that just yet. We don't have the earnest money amount yet. Closing date, we're going to shoot for like 2/27, February 27th or whatever. Pop that in. Buyer number 1 is, I don't know why I put my name, but it's not. It's Richard Williamson. There's his phone number. It's actually my number, but street number is number. See, if you'll take the time to correct all this nonsense here, it's gonna. Now this is his home address, so let's put a different address. Okay, that's the address where he lives now. Let's say, for instance. All right. Homeowners Association. It's Stonehill Farms. I don't know what the management company is, but maybe the listing agent will. Okay. Add additional property exclusions. Maybe they want to keep the dining room fixture. Okay, or whatever else, and you just keep typing of what they might have put on the MLS that they want to exclude. And then on the MLS sheet, maybe it's lot 12 in Stonehill Farms. I've done this before, so it's auto-populating for me. And it's block B, let's say. Okay? So let's use that and let's autofill as much as we can. So here we are. All right. So the parties to the contract, you put in the sellers, and then here it's already populated. So be sure and proofread this, okay? Proofread it really carefully to make sure that it's correct. And then you'll fill in the seller, and you'll continue to fill in your contract as you would normally. Okay, and you'll notice down at the bottom it already has put a place for Richard's initials. Okay, and it already pre-filled in that closing date that we talked about, and we put on that sheet. Coming down here, all right. So the buyer lives now at 877 Witherby. And this is his phone number, not, but close enough. And here's his email. Okay. So we also want, if the seller is going to notify the buyer in writing, where would the seller notify the buyer? Okay. They could send it to his home address. They could, well, sometimes you don't even have a phone number. They could email it to him, and you also want them to copy you, or in this case, me. Okay. Because I'm his buyer's agent, right? So you want to make sure that you get a copy of everything also. Same difference. You're representing the buyer. If you, on behalf of your buyer, need to send them any notice, it has to be hand delivered, transmitted, or sent by fax or electronic transmission to this contact information. What if you haven't filled anything in? Okay, so that could be a problem, right? So the seller lives at 1701 Morning Mist Trail, Flower Mound. So 70228. I don't have their phone number. I don't have their fax number, but I do want to copy, and I don't have their email address, but I do want to copy their listing agent, who is Debbie Gill. Her name is Debbie Gill at kwf.com. Okay, so at least put the agent's email address. Don't leave either side of this blank, please. All right. Number 22, agreement between parties. So the contract contains the entire agreement and can't be changed except with an amendment, a written agreement, which is an amendment. And the addenda that are part of the contract are, there's going to be financing, so there's going to be a third-party financing addendum. There's going to be this addendum for the mandatory property owners association. Let's see. Now, the seller said that they would like to stay in the house for a week after closing, so there's going to be a seller's temporary residential lease. You get my drift? Okay, so make sure that you click or write in anything that's additional. Now, there's a non-realty item addendum, but in fact, that's going to be changed to agreement, but that doesn't need to be part of the contract because it's not real estate. It's non-realty items, right? It's not a bill of sale because the sale hadn't happened yet, but it's an agreement between the seller and the buyer that the seller is going to leave those items for the buyer. But don't put that in here, okay? Also, make sure, you may have everybody e-signature here, and there's usually a date on that e-signature, right? That does not constitute an executed date. There has to be a date in this blank, okay? Whether you put it in the 17th day of January 2019, or you just put January 17th, 2019, whatever you do, make sure there's a date here, or there could be some misunderstanding when the executed date is. And remember, everything's hinged on the executed date. So many days from the executed date, you have to deposit the option fee, and the earnest money, and the title commitment has to be delivered. And the third-party financing addendum has a number of days that the buyer has to be fully approved. All these things hinge on the executed date. So make sure that's clear. Okay, so Liz Rourke is the buyer's agent, and look how this filled. Okay, Liz Rourke is the buyer's agent. Debbie Gill is the listing agent. Now, if Debbie Gill was with Remax, this would be fine. Okay, because the listing broker's firm is Remax. And the other broker's firm is Keller Williams Coppell, or Keller Williams DFW Preferred. However, Debbie Gill is with Keller Williams, and Liz is with Keller Williams, the same office. So there is no other broker, right? There is no other broker. There's only one broker. Only one broker. So the illustration, I'm glad it populated like this because it populated incorrectly. So you have to make sure that when you auto-populate, you check and double check and recheck to make sure that the information is clear. Okay. Keller Williams Coppell. Might even want to change that to DFW preferred. But Keller Williams Coppell is fine. The license number is 0499876. Where can you find that? On the IABS. Okay. Now it's a seller and buyer is intermediary. Okay. So I'm going to just blank out all that. Where do you find this information? Or if you're the buyer's agent and you're looking for this information for the listing agent, it's on the MLS sheet. Okay. So you put the listing agent's name, their license number, their email address, and their phone number. All that's on the MLS sheet. Licensed supervisor is usually on the MLS sheet. In this case, it's Maria. And then her license number. Again, that's on the IABS. You can get that information. And then here's our address. And you put in our phone number, which is 972-350-5000, Coppell, Texas. Now, the selling associate, here's the listing associate. The selling associate is Liz Rourke. Because we're in the same brokerage. She listed it, I'm selling it. Okay, makes sense? This is for intermediary. And then my email address and then my phone number. And licensed supervisor is the same. Now, you don't have to repeat the office address since we're in the same office. But look at it this way. Like Ebby Halliday has one broker, one brokerage license number. Okay? So it may say Ebby Halliday up here, but the listing agent may be in the Little White House at Dallas. The selling agent may be the agent in Flower now. Okay, so there's a different office address, even though they're under the same brokerage. Does that make sense? So that's why that's there. But we're all in just one. Okay. But if you're with another broker, these are two different brokerages, then the buyer's agent would be over here, the listing agent would be over here. Just wanted to point that out. Okay. This is where you receive the option fee, and the title company will receive the earnest money in the contract. Be careful with electronic signing of the option fee receipt. The seller or listing broker agent must be the ones to sign. Don't deliver it to the title company. They can't sign it for you. And if you or you're the listing agent and you electronically sign this, make sure the date that you sign it is within those 3 days. Make sure the date that they sign it is within those 3 days. Okay, or it could be under scrutiny. Okay, third-party financing addendum. Again, the street address and city are populated, and then you fill this out as you would normally. On the second page, again, here's Richard's initials waiting for him, and then they popped in that signature page as well. The same on the mandatory membership in a property owners association. Street address, Stonehill Farms, fill that out, click 15 days, whatever, and here's the signature, and you complete that. All right. Here's your checklist again. Here's your IABS. You always, always, always have an IABS, and that should be the first thing that you put in front of your client. Use the pre-filled version, and you have all this information put in for you. Okay. And then it will auto-populate your information if you use that auto-populate option. If not, these blocks will be blank and you'll have to fill them in yourself. Okay, but this is where you get all the license numbers and email addresses and all that kind of stuff for the contract. Again, it's waiting on Richard's initial. Here's inspector information. Here's your lead-based paint. Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and save that because we filled in some blanks and made some corrections. So this house happens to have been built in 1997. So this lead-based paint's not necessary. So in order to just kind of keep the folder clean, let's archive it. Okay. So it doesn't go away. It doesn't delete it, but it just hides it. Now, a lot of times you'll be ready right now with these forms to share. If you start clicking, you need for your client to sign these forms, right? So you're going to share with Richard. I'm not going to send it to my husband because he'll think, what in the world? So here's Richard. 13 fields are waiting for him to either initial or sign. And we're giving him permission to sign, and then you share it. Okay? You can say, here's the offer for the property at 1701 Morning Mist. Please initial and sign these documents at your earliest opportunity. Attach PDF to email so that he can pop open this PDF and look at it, or print it, or whatever he wants to do. Whenever you send anything in Dotloop, be sure click on this so it's attached as a PDF to the email, and then you can share it. Okay, it goes on over to him. And then when he signed it, it'll come back to you and it'll say signed. Okay, oops. It'll say signed. So that'll tell you, okay, it's ready to go. Now, if there's a Mr. and Mrs. If there's two buyers, then it'll say waiting on others until both of them has signed. One may be signed and the other one might not have signed. So it'll say waiting on others until they both get signed. And then it says signed. Then you can click, 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 click. This doesn't really go to the listing agent. That doesn't go to the listing agent. But she does need the contract, third-party financing, and the HOA addendum, right? And then you can share again after they're signed. Then this time we're sending them to Debbie Gill because she's the listing agent, right? Debbie, this is a offer on your property at 1701 Morning Mist. I hope we can get this deal done and take it to closing. I look forward to working with you. Okay. Attach a PDF to the email because if it's another company, they may not use Dotloop. They don't want to get sucked into our Dotloop. They may want to download it and upload it into DocuSign or Zip Forms or something like that. Okay. So always, always, always attach a PDF, and then you share it, and it goes to Debbie. Okay. Does that make sense? Cool. Then when all of this is done and you've got it executed and you're past the option period and all this kind of stuff, then actually what you can do is just click this button. Because if you click one thing and submit to me, I'm seeing everything. Okay. That's why I'm asking you to clean up things and archive and all that stuff that's not necessary. So you click this and you submit for review. Okay, so this is a buyer loop. You submit for review. Now, before you do that, let's look here, view details. Our system is set up that we do everything is filed by the property address. So let's use the property address as the loop name. Okay, that's really important. We don't do names. We don't look up somebody's name, the buyer's name or a seller's name. We look up property addresses. So change everything to the property address. Now it already has who the buying agent is, the listing agent, the buyer. Okay, see who the buying broker is. It's already got all this populated, right? It's already got the closing date, so that's all good. So we save that. It's changed to the property address, back to the loop. Now we're ready to submit for review right there. Okay? Submit for review. Now what you're going to do, this is a sales contract folder because that's what it was named. Select type. It's a buying folder. Your client is buying this property, right? And you don't have to send me a note unless you know that you're missing something. Say, I don't have the seller's disclosure yet, or I don't have the, you can tell me if you want to, or you can just submit it. Okay. So this is what you see. Okay. So let me show you what I see because I'm the one that that looks at this stuff. So I log in as admin, and this is what I see. Here's Morning Mist Trail that we just submitted. I pop it open. I see all the forms. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I look and see if there's a note. Okay, nobody's written me a note. So I'm going to open all. So I can just open all the documents and all the non-approved documents. And I go through and I go, okay, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good. So I approve. Then I go to the next one and I look at that. Okay, that looks good. Okay, I approve. Okay, here's the HOA document. Okay, that looks good. So I approve that one. Okay, I don't need to approve that because that's just a document. Okay, this is good. Everything's that looks good. I approve it. And here's this. Okay, great. I'm glad he used it. Okay, I approve that one. Okay, and then I'm done. So I go back to open the loop and see all of these things have been approved, right? Okay, this one I don't approve it because it's just a checklist. All right. So at this point, I'm like, okay, what is missing? Because I'm looking at the checklist, right? So here we are. We got the IBS. You're going to do the green sheet just as soon as you finish. You're doing it while I'm looking at this, okay? So you're working on the green sheet. The MLS full agent report. I didn't see the full agent report. Okay, I need that. So I got the contract document. Oh, I didn't get the seller's disclosure. You didn't put the seller's disclosure in the loop, okay? And you got option and earnest money receipts. I'm just going to give you that, but I need those, okay? Third-party financing addendum, HOA addendum, okay? So you see what I'm going for? So, so what I do is I go up here and I go, hey Liz, please upload the MLS sheet and the seller's disclosure. And resubmit. Thanks, Liz. Okay, so I'm going to send you a note. Okay, but please use your checklist because this takes time. Okay, and if you want to streamline this process and make it easier for me, just use your checklist and know that, oh, I forgot the MLS sheet. And, oh, yeah, that's that seller's disclosure I need. You go ahead and upload those before you submit it to review. Okay. So if we do need to add so you know, you're like, oh yeah, crap, I forgot MLS sheet. Okay, I have this over here in my file on my computer. Here's the MLS sheet. Let's see, where's the seller's disclosure? I know I've got the seller's disclosure. No. Well, maybe I don't have the seller's disclosure. Oh, oh there it is. SD. Seller's disclosure. Okay. So I upload those. Okay. So here's the seller's disclosure and the MLS sheet. I got to submit that again. Submit it again. Submit for review because those are the two things that I'm looking for. So I got to submit it again. So sales contract form, buying folder, submit. So again, I log into my admin for Keller Williams, and here's Morning Mist. Okay, so I open it up again. Oh, okay, here's the seller's disclosure in the MLS sheet. Let's open all, and what it opens is the things that have not been approved. So it opens the seller's disclosure. I check it, make sure all the initials and signatures are where they're supposed to be, and I approve it. Right? And then I look at the, okay, that looks good. I approve it. Okay, I don't need to do anything with that, so I'm done. Okay, we've got it all, everything we need, good to go. So now you are ready for DA. So when I click ready for DA, it goes to Karen, the MCA. And so it flags her just like it flags me when you click submit for review. When I change the status to ready for DA, it pops up on her screen. And so she opens this folder, this loop, and then she goes looking for a green sheet. Okay. And if she doesn't find a green sheet, then she's going to change this to no green sheet. And then you're going to get it back with a message that says no green sheet. Like, oh crap, I forgot. I need to go do my green sheet. So when you get it done, then you can submit it for review again, okay, or change, or I don't think, yeah, I think all you can do is submit. But then it comes back to her, and she will pop open the loop, pop open the green sheet, and do your CDA, and she'll put a copy in your loop, and she'll send a copy to the title company. Okay, makes sense? Cool. All right. Now, having said all that, I want to show you about other ways to organize your loops. When I have like this many documents in one folder and they're all mixed up and they're all convoluted, I'm like going, I just, yeah, it kind of gives me a headache. But anyway, so here's how to organize. If this is your listing, so open the listing. Let me show you this. What we've done for you. Okay, create a loop. Name your loop. Okay, this is our morning mist trail again, right? There it is. I don't want the one with. Okay. Select a template. Okay, this is a listing contract. This is a new listing. You had the buyer contract the last time when you represented the buyer. Now you're representing the seller. So this is a listing contract. Create the loop. And so we've auto-populated some of the same things, but it's named listing contract folder. So this is where you put your listing agreement, your seller's disclosure, your look on your checklist, and you'll know. Pop open the checklist. If you're wondering what forms you need, here's the IABS. You'll upload an MLS sheet as soon as you get it on the market. You need a listing agreement, a seller's disclosure, T47 and survey, lead-based paint if it was built before 78. Is there any kind of referral or relo agreement? Any other kind of stuff like this, okay? So this will help you know which forms to pull from the templates, all right? And all the listing information is in the Texas Association of Realtors templates, not TREC. All the listing stuff is in TAR, right? Okay, so let me go back out to this one. I've got so many on this now. Okay, so this is our listing folder. We've got compliance checklist. We've got the listing agreement, the real property affidavit that accompanies the survey, IABS, seller's disclosure. Okay, so you've got all that. And the sellers got it all filled out. It's all good. It's executed. You submit it. Make sure you put the MLS sheet in there when it goes on the market. Then you click it, and then you submit for review up here. Okay? And then when I get it, if everything's there, then I will change it to approved listing. This is your side, so you can't see it. I will change it to approved listing. If there's something missing, like the MLS sheet, I will send you a note in return to agent. Okay, and then you send it back to me with the MLS sheet. So we've got our listing document. So it's been sitting on the market for a little bit, and now you've got a sales contract. You've got a buyer that's made an offer on it. So you add a folder up here. So anyway, there's a way to add a folder. So you add a folder, and this is where you put all the buyer documents, everything that's related to the sales contract. So you keep the listing documents separate from the sales contract documentation. Here's the survey that you gave the buyer. Here's the repair amendments. Here's the temporary lease that your sellers have asked for. Here's the appraisal addendum, the seller's disclosure initialed and signed by the buyers. There's the third-party financing, non-realty item, HOA addendum, checks and receipts for the earnest money and option fees. Here's your MLS sheet, and here's the executed contract. Okay, so all of this is in the sales contract folder, separate and apart from the listing folder. And then again, you click it, submit it when the auction period's over and it looks like everything's going to move forward. Get out your checklist, make sure you have everything that I'll be looking for in your folder, and then you submit for review. Okay? Now, there's also an opportunity to use a third folder, and you won't submit this one. Okay? This is going to be for all your stuff. Think about your loops as your permanent file. You've got this manila folder, and you've crammed all this stuff in it, all the old inspection report from when your seller bought it, to the roof report, when they had to have some roof repaired. You've got stuff on the pool. You've got, all kinds of stuff. HOA documents. And this is with a buyer folder, too. You'll have a stuff document. You'll have a stuff folder. HOA, this is the homeowner's, home warranty company. Maybe there's some pre-closing information or this would be the seller since it's the listing, but that the title company wanted you to fill out. Here's your inspections, all this stuff, okay? So you just set up another folder with miscellaneous and just put all that stuff in there, okay? I don't have to look at it. I don't need it. But again, it's your permanent folder. It's your permanent file. So you can keep that stuff in perpetuity, and you can shred the paper and going down the road. Now, make sure, I'll caution you about, what I've done is in my miscellaneous folder, I've taken my paper folder, like, okay, what else do I need to put in there? I mean, notes that I've taken, like I said, the realist report, properties that I've shown the buy, all kinds of stuff. Everything that you've got in your paper folder, just scan and put up in your miscellaneous folder, so you've got a record of it. Because at some point, year and a half down the road, if the buyer, wants to sue the seller because they feel like that they haven't disclosed, previous water damage and blah, 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 you're going to have to resurrect some of this stuff. Okay, did you tell me about that previous water damage? Let's pull out that old seller's disclosure that you got when you bought the house, and let's look at that. And, there's all kinds of stuff sometimes that you need, a year and a half down the road, and you don't want to have to dig around in your attic and find that box, that you've stuffed all that stuff in, okay? Because I've got boxes in my attic over the years. Slowly have the opportunity to shred. So this is the most efficient way and the cleanest way to take care of your folders, so that it's easy for you to find things. It's easy for me to find things. And so, particularly if you go back, if you scan something and just upload that scan, the name of this document's going to be gibberish. Well, if you don't rename it by going over here, clicking rename, if you don't rename it to something that makes sense, then you'll never know what that is unless you have to open it every time you need to know what it is. Okay, so just keep that in mind, and just try to stay organized. And anyway, I hope this helps you. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't hesitate to call or text me. I'll be available to you. And have a great day. You're doing great.